Welcome back. We're going to talk about coaching. First, I think it's worthwhile to discuss that the MIAA has made some rule changes this year, and they'll be significant. I don't know if they'll be significantly better or significantly worse. First of all, the 30-second shot clock has now been modified to 35 seconds. So I see too many games that are already in the 30s, and if teams slow it down even more, then the scores will be that much lower. So I'm not really excited about that. I'm not really sure that it was necessary. And second of all, the format for determining the playoffs has changed. The margin of victory is being capped at 1 point now, so there's no advantage to winning by a bigger margin. It's only going to be margin of victory, meaning whether you won or lost, and strength of schedule. The max preps formula, which is a black box and nobody knows what it is, isn't being used because it's proprietary to max preps. And apparently some, quote, coaches, I'm not sure if they were coaches or parents, were complaining because of the margin of victory differential. They felt that kids weren't getting a chance to play because the coaches were leaving the starters in to try to run the score up. I don't know.
Yeah, but if you're worried about if that's the case, if you're not a real good team, how are you going to run the score up and you're hoping to make it? You know what I mean? The real good teams, they know that they're going to know they're in it anyway because of their record. They're not going to run the score up. Why would they?
Well, I mean, if you're a great team,
to get a better seed,
if you're a great team and the margin of victory is capped at 10, the great teams like Malden Catholic boys are winning by 50, so it doesn't really matter.
How do you go from 30 seconds to 35? That's insane. I mean, that hurts the game. It hurts the game even more.
I would rather see it go to 24.
I know.
So, I think the game is meant to be played fast. I can't imagine what it's like to be in the 40 or 41 states there are that have no shot clock. So you have games that are 15 to 12 and stuff like that. Like it used to
be, the four corners. But, just think about how crazy that is. Number one, the real good teams are never going to be, they're not going to use 15 seconds, the real good teams. They're going to run you the whole game. All right? So the teams that are weaker, I mean, are they doing that so they can get more time against the real good teams to maybe score? What they're doing is giving them more time to turn the ball over. That's what they're actually doing. So I don't understand it.
Well, it's true. I was thinking about this the other day, and there's a lot of ways to break down possessions, but I think the simplest way is everything that happens before the shot, there's the shot, and then there's everything that happens after the shot, the rebounding. And where does offense break down the most? It breaks down so that you don't even get a shot. People turn the ball over. They make bad decisions.
Well, all the great teams, I mean, you're not going to be a great team unless you're great defensively, because that leads to the offense. I mean, I saw Woburn play against us, right? The first 8 minutes, first 8 minutes, it was like a 4-point game. I said, first time I saw Woburn, I said, they're not so good. Then they upped their defense. They started turning the ball over. Merrill started turning it over against their pressure, and Woburn would just go into transition, and then they would score off that. I mean, that's what you see in the great teams. If you've got to be great defensively, that leads to you being even that much better offensively.
Right. Well, if you're analyzing the analytics, the points per possession are highest off of turnovers. So live ball turnovers, what happens is you get transition, you get a 3-on-2, 2-on-1 breakaways, and then you have offensive possessions starting off rebounds, and then you have dead ball. The other team scores, or there's just a dead ball turnover, and they have the lowest. So when the defense is allowed to get set, most defenses are pretty good. Now, I followed Bishop Fenwick closely last year because a former player was on Bishop Fenwick, and the state champion in that division was St. Mary's. Now, what's the problem with trying to defend St. Mary's? They have two exceptional guards who can handle the ball, break down the defense off the dribble, so there's always 4-on-3, 3-on-2. So the key is to get people to be able to stay in front of the ball. Well, how are you going to do that if you can't do it just man-to-man? Then you're going to have to play combination defenses like triangle and two. You play pack line where you have all the wings sag in and step in right away and take your chances on the penetrate and pass. And then maybe you can do things like run and jump, or which I used to call trap and go, where you double team the guard and then immediately leave and try to go to somebody else, so the other team is
You got to be
out of sorts. But high school kids can't do all this stuff.
You got to be able to react really quick. I'm seeing that helping my teams, my friends' AAU teams. I mean, you got to, and now I talk about that all the time with the kids. You got to be quick. You got to be, your decision making has got to be sharp. You got to know where your teammates. I talk about knowing the floor, and a lot of what I teach is you've got to know where everybody is on the floor. Within a split second, you've got to pick up the colors. You've got to know in advance when the ball's coming to you. I would start practice and I'd say the ball would come to a girl on the left. Someone's wide open, cutting down low. I could see it. You've got to see that. The more you can see and understand the floor and know the floor, the better you're going to be. But seeing the games now, the basketball, people say, well, it's not like it used to be. It's way better than it used to be. Girls' basketball is way better. I mean, I'm seeing it.
Well, it used to be that the players individually couldn't break down another player and get separation for a shot or a drive. Now, all the good players can do that.
But another thing I would say to anybody, parent who's thinking about putting their kid in the AAU program, at a young age, say middle school age, I would ask them, what type of defense do you play? First question I would ask, what type of defense do you play? And once I heard, we play some zone, we play some man-to-man. Well, what's the percentage? Well, half and half. My daughter would not be playing in that program. If a coach is worried more about winning games than teaching, I don't think he should be playing any zone at all, in my feeling, especially at the younger ages. I watched my grandson's third grade team, right? He was on a travel team. They're playing zones, these teams. Third grade. Jake's a point guard. He penetrates well. So they play a zone. You can't do that. You can't run any of your plays. So it basically ruins the game for both teams. The team that's playing the zone is not teaching how to rotate, how to trap, play your man straight up. They're teaching, okay, you play this zone, don't let him get in between you. And a team that's playing against the zone is not learning anything because now they're playing against the zone. And I'm talking about maybe from 8th grade down, that they should be all playing man-to-man. This should be a rule. I don't know why they should get rid of zones until you get into high school.
Well, the problem is, and to a degree we're all guilty, is that people want to win. They'll do anything to win. I remember playing in a tournament over in Malden before the season. So the other team, I don't remember what town it was, doesn't matter. They're playing zone, 2-3 zone, the whole game. So we're ahead by 8 with 3 minutes to go. So I just tell the kids, hold the ball out. So
I did that.
The other coach starts screaming at me, play basketball. I'm playing. Come out and cover somebody.
I did that you were coaching with me against Chelmsford. We were playing Chelmsford. We had Colleen Hanscom was our point guard. So we're up 6 points with like 2 minutes to go, and they're still in the zone. So I told, there's no shot clock. I said, Colleen, go over half court and just stand there with the ball, dribble it. Right? And they come out, once they come out of the zone, go with the fist, which is the pick and roll. So she stays out of it, and they're not doing it for like 30 seconds. It goes out, and then the coach gets aggravated, tells him to go out. We run the pick and roll, and I don't know it was Maeve. Oh. Maeve scored on the pick and roll, and I'm looking. But I remember coaches coming up to me after. They don't even know how to tell their kids how to set a pick. No. The new sports, you got to watch out for.
We had one group, we were playing Pentucket, which was always strong, and we didn't have Cecilia because she had another commitment. So we get behind, and I said, we'll just run the pick and roll till they can't. So we score 3 times in a row in pick and roll. So then they switch to zone to take it away. So we won it anyway, but it's just.
But zones are killing the sport, Ron. Yeah. Until you get into high school, then it's about winning.
Right. So I think
varsity high.
I saw a coach who wrote that his team faced zone defense in high school on 32% of the possessions. So he's there. You can't say we're not going to work on zone offense and have to play zones a third of the time. So thinking back to high school, people played zone, and we just sort of said, we stood around, we passed you get the ball. As soon as you touch it, you look to pass it. So I just remember we scored in the 60s all the time against zones, and this was before shot clocks and before three-point shooting, because you can just move the ball so much more quickly.
If you have a good...
Yeah, like Hannah Brickley's team. People play zone against them. That was suicide. So anyway, so this, to me, the most underappreciated combination of things in coaching are some combination of cutting and passing. When the Celtics are cutting and passing well, when Brown and Tatum are getting the ball on the move, they're almost impossible to stop.
But they don't have a point guard who can break down a defense. The only point guard they have that can break down a defense is Pritchard, and he's not playing because of his defense liabilities in regard to Udoka's philosophy. I mean, another coach's philosophy, he's the best on-the-ball defensive player they have. On the ball, covering someone, a point guard, that's why he should be covering. At times, he should be covering Curry.
Well, and the other thing is, don't beat yourself. How do you beat yourself? You turn the ball over, you take bad shots, you commit stupid fouls. These guys who foul three-point shots, what are you doing? I mean, you can never, and you don't get back and get scored on in transition. So when your opponent's getting easy baskets, against Miami, the Celtics got almost no easy baskets. They really.
That's why I'm looking at that first game against Golden State to see how they play Tatum and Brown. They got to all play their best. If they play their best, they'll win. If Smart plays his best, Horford, and if Williams is healthy, Graham Williams at times. I mean, they have enough players, but if Golden State's defense bothers them like Miami's did, they're going to have a tough time.
Yeah. Well, I think if you watch a generic high school game and look at the number of assists, the team that gets a lot of assists is going to get easy. They're getting assists because they're scoring, but they're scoring because they're getting easy baskets. And the team that turns the ball over a lot. I mean, I've seen games where teams are turning the ball over in the 30s. The rest of your offensive players are not going to be good enough on those remaining 35 possessions. All right, so if you've got 35 possessions to score, what are you going to do? You're going to score 50% of the time? Even if you do, you're only scoring in the 30s. So you just cannot turn the ball over.
And I'm seeing that so much. Working with the AAU teams, I'm just seeing it so much with our kids that, our 8th grade team is really talented, but against real good competition, it gets in their head. They stop cutting, and their decision-making isn't as good.
I think in the Celtics' losses, they were averaging 16 turnovers, and in the wins, 12. Okay, so that's 4 more possessions a game. That's probably you're going to score between 4 to 5 points on those possessions. And so many of these games are decided by 1 or 2 possessions. It's ginormous.
But Ron, here's the best way. There's only one Curry, all right?
Okay.
There's only one Curry. But you watch Curry. If Curry was on the Celtics, it'd be an entirely different team on offense. He'd be handling the ball. He'd be penetrating. He'd be dishing to the open guys because they're going to have to switch because no one can stay with Curry one-on-one.
Well, I've come around to your thinking as far as if the Celtics could have any one player as the point guard, I'd like it to be Lonzo Ball.
If they could get Ball, no one would beat them. Because then Tatum and Brown, off his penetration and his passing, it's funny you say that, because I've said the same thing to our players on our team, the AU team. You've got to see the floor better. And I talk about great point guards, but the Lonzo Ball would be unbelievable on that team.
The saying that I've tried to teach kids, it's the scoreboard, not the scorebook. How are you impacting winning? Now, maybe your job is to score a lot of points, but most kids' job isn't to score a lot of points. 85% of players are complementary players to the star players, and your job is to help contain other people, set great screens, get rebounds, play good defense. It's not to get 15 points when you're really an 8-point player.
But it's funny. Like in one of the practices 2 weeks ago, right? We call it our A team, and I went up to the point guard, and I said she's a very good basketball player, but she doesn't see the floor well. And I went up to her and I says to her, did you see Ava when you penetrated that last time? She goes, no, I didn't. I says, well, you should have. If you want to be a great point guard in high school, there's no way she penetrated from right to left. And once she penetrated from right to left, she just lost what was over here. And this girl, Ava, who's our center, was really good, was cutting. She should have saw that, and she should have realized that eventually she's going to be in the lane. She went to the lane, and she got off balance and threw up a shot, right? And Ava was cut wide open. And I'm trying to tell the point guards, you've got to see the floor.
Well, if I played and I could have a choice between 15 points and 2 assists or 12 points and 7 assists, I'd much rather be 12 and 7 because you're making 3 people happy. You're making yourself happy, you're making the scorer happy, and you're really making the coach happy.
I used to love passing. I used to love setting up my teammates.
But that's not the way people think now.
No,
It's all about scoring. We'll be right back.